Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror PSA presented by Scary Nerd, and as always, we are your hosts. I'm Paul.
I'm Saul.
And I'm Angie.
The following is a public service announcement.
A teenager discovers that the newcomer in his neighborhood is a vampire, so he turns to an actor in a television horror show for help dealing with the undead. That's right, we watched 1985's Fright Night.
And we are back. Saul is back.
Yes,
Kim
he
is
is.
back.
Saul is out of quarantine.
Out of the closet and back into the living room.
Yes. We, after 8 months, Arizona finally got its shit together, so we are able to be socially distanced here together today.
Yay.
You wouldn't really say that they got their shit together.
Well,
yet,
I mean, not really, but
we've got our shit
Yes.
together enough to be in person, back in studio.
yes,
with 40
socially
fingers, I'll say.
quarantined with
No
our
more
masks.
over the phone.
We are
Now we
being
are in
very
person.
safe. Don't worry. Because there is still a pandemic. But we are here to talk about Fright Night, a quintessential Halloween fall time movie, I
That's
would
right.
feel.
This month we are doing Halloween season favorites, and we decided to start with the vampire flick Fright Night because how the hell are you going to start Halloween season without Fright Night in there somewhere in your 31 nights of Halloween or whatever you want to do in
And you
your
got to
house?
watch it at least once, right?
See, I thought I had watched this movie before, but the more I started watching, I was like, I don't think I've seen this.
You mean like ever?
No, I think that's the thing about it, though, is I was trying to think of it, and I don't remember ever watching this. Because I thought, okay, when you guys said Fright Night, I'm like, okay, this should be fun. And then I started thinking about it. Well, like, did I ever see this? And then as we're watching, it's like, no, I don't think I've ever seen this.
Not even as a kid?
No, not even as a kid.
I had seen,
Disappointed.
growing up, I had seen it randomly on TV or whatnot, but I think I watched it after I watched it for the first time all the way through after the remake came out. I never saw the remake.
See, that's what I thought. See,
Yeah.
I thought maybe I had accidentally seen it, or not accidentally seen it, or seen it as a kid here and there. But like I said, as I was watching, I'm like, okay, none of this registers with me, so this is my first time watching it.
Yeah, I went and saw the original when the remake came out because I did want to see the remake, but I always have to watch the
I've
originals
never
first.
seen the remake, so I don't know.
I haven't either. We never got around to it. It was just one of those movies. But
See,
this
I
movie,
love this movie so much, and it's definitely one I watched as a kid, so I'm like, I don't know if I want to see the fucking remake.
That's fair.
I don't
Well-
want it to shit on my childhood.
Well, if anything, we can do it next year
Doesn't
for
shit
another
on your
round of shit
childhood.
quills, if it's that bad.
Yeah, we'll see.
If a sequel or a remake shits on your childhood, you had a terrible childhood. I'm sorry.
No, it's because you had a great childhood, and then someone comes and shits on it with some shitty
Nobody's
sequel.
making you watch the
Some
remake.
shitty remake.
Nobody's making you watch it. Your childhood's still
then
intact.
maybe the people that they're making these movies for are just too soft today, or whatever. it
Maybe.
is, man.
Maybe. We
Maybe.
had a lot of shit growing up. We had a whole horror childhood, which
Yes.
is why we're scary nerds
Yes.
today. But let's jump into this movie. I love that it just opens as like that he's watching horror movies. And it to me, it always makes it seem like it's super late, but until they go downstairs and like
It's
his
still
mom's
early.
there.
Yeah, his mom's like, "What are you guys doing?" Like right after the fact that she's like, "We're gonna fuck her what,
She
Charlie?"
really was.
And the mom's like, "Hey guys."
Did you guys have a little lover spat?
Having a lover spat over there?
Well, she comes running down the stairs and she's fixing her shirt or whatever it is that she's fixing, and she's like,
and-
"What's going on?"
And then she has that line like, "Were we gonna have sex or not?"
Yeah,
Charlie?
she says you first you want to make love and then you don't want to make
That's
love
what it is.
because
Wait.
Charlie is such a back and forth dick in this movie.
Here's the one thing that took me a minute, and I recognized her, but I was like, that cannot be who I think it is. But what is it?
It's Al-
Amy Peterson?
Al's arch enemy.
But yes, as soon as I recognized her as Darcy Marcy, I'm like, holy crap, I can't. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's who it is. Like, I had a
Yep.
feeling, I kept seeing her face. I'm like, why do I know her? And then I looked at it, I'm like, I got to look this up. And I looked it up and I'm like, it's Darcy Marcy.
She will always be Darcy Marcy
Yeah.
/ Amy
Yes.
for me. Like,
Yeah,
like no matter what.
it's
Like if I think
Darcy.
of her non-horror, it's definitely Darcy. But
Yeah.
if I think of her in a horror context, it's always this movie for me.
But see what? This movie was made in what, 85?
I wasn't born yet, so
So yeah, that's the thing about it though. It was like, I mean, you look at it, what she's known for now is Married with Children. And at the time I'm thinking, okay, is this her or is this not her? And I'm like, it couldn't be her because she's doing Married with Children and I don't see her doing a horror movie. But then when I realized it was her, I'm like, it's her. It's like, I can't picture, like, where's Jefferson? Where's Al? I need to see them around.
I love when you see that they're watching that horror movie that Peter Vincent vampire killer horror movie, and he's got the stake backwards.
Oh yeah, I did notice that. I pointed it out to Kim.
Yeah.
Like he's going after the vampire and he's holding it. I'm like, he's holding that stake
it
backwards.
I love that little. It's to make fun of old school horror movies, pretty much, because that's how they were in the back in the day.
I always imagine in movies where there's like a movie within a movie, like how much fun making the silly movie that you're going to be watching in the background would be.
That's what makes me think that him holding the stake backwards was done on purpose.
Oh yeah, for sure was.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah. It was for sure. But Charlie's a dick. Don't be a Charlie, guys.
No, don't be a Charlie.
No means no. He really tries to force the whole sex thing with Amy. And granted, she was 27 at the time when they recorded this. So, I mean, she could have put out. But, like, you don't have to push it, man.
You say that, don't be a Charlie and force it on her. But then she's like, are we going to do this or what, Charlie?
No, she gets mad because she's like, okay, let's bone. And then he's like, hey, you see what's going on outside? Like, what the fuck, man? You can't first be like, all right, let's bone. And then the bitch gets ready and shit. And then you're just like, look outside. What's going on? No.
But Charlie's out there with the boner. I'm like, why is there a coffin going in? Okay, there are some things that you're like, okay, there's a coffin.
Nope.
There's two dudes carrying a coffin in the middle of the night next door to the house that's been abandoned for how many fucking years? Yeah.
No.
It's a little strange.
There's something
boner
fishy about
or
that.
otherwise.
Yes.
I think you're like, all right, we need to look into this shit.
No, I
bit.
totally wrote how this whole movie is just about how Charlie needs to mind his own goddamn business because he is all up in that vampire's ass, man. Like even before, so just seeing the coffin, right? The next morning, he tries to go in the basement, like he's trying to jimmy the door, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? That's not your house. Get out of there.
There's a goddamn vampire next door.
I give no shits. Let the vampire
He
live.
doesn't know that yet, though. All he sees is a coffin.
He's just trying to snoop based off the fact that they have a coffin. Not your business, Charlie. Not your business.
Did you see that coffin? That was no ordinary coffin. That was a vampire's coffin. Okay, so you need to go check that shit out. All right, this is why nosy ass white people always getting up in people's business. So either way, Charlie was that nosy ass white kid. But either way,
but if
he was
anything,
a fucking vampire.
But if anything, to take of note, so you don't get suspicious of anything. Don't ever fucking move in the middle of the night. Or move into a place in the middle of the damn night.
All right, and maybe put your coffin in a box.
Hey, maybe
just carry it in a nondescriptive box.
Yeah.
they work all day. They got to move at night. What are you gonna do, man?
But no, Charlie he's Snoopy through this whole thing.
He is. He gets out his binoculars and starts.
He resorts to voyeurism at points.
Yeah, I love this movie, and there's so many weird things about it, though. Like Charlie, he's not consistent at all.
No.
Like the only thing consistent about Charlie is that once he kind of gets wind of the vampire thing, like from the get-go, like you're saying, he saw the coffin and like from the get-go, he was just like obsessed with this thing.
Yeah.
He was like,
And
I
like
wonder what's
that's
in there.
like all he was going to do throughout the whole fucking movie, which makes the whole setup of the movie like that his friends are worried about him and all that. It makes it works a lot. So like I love that they have these setups for the whole story to work in the way that it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question about his friends. Was Evil actually a friend of his? Because sometimes they seem like they're friends, and other times he's just like, "Shut up, you dickhead!" Like
it seems like it was just like one of those kids like they all went to school with kind of thing. But I don't know, like it was a weird relationship with them. But because like later he just goes to his house and like he just busts in the front door and like goes into.
They don't just do that to his house; they do that to all of their houses.
Yeah, they all walking in places.
So I'm like, I don't know, and like, he just like had to pay him $8 for like his vampire knowledge or whatever. So I'm like, I don't think that they're friends, but I don't know. It's the whole low self-esteem thing that Evil Ed had too, and I think that Jerry really capitalizes on later. We'll get to that.
Amy had her own self-esteem.
No, there are like
issues
8
as well.
parts. There are like 8 parts in here where I'm like, Amy has low self-esteem.
Yes.
Yes.
Here's the thing that didn't make sense to me about Charlie is that he went to Evil for vampire knowledge or whatever need be, but this dude is the one who loves watching the Vampire Hunter movies
I didn't get
late
that
night.
either.
So don't you think the stuff that he knows he'd be able to apply to it rather than
especially the fact that you're watching Peter Vincent movies where he's the vampire killer.
Yeah.
And like you've seen all these movies and what he does, what he has, like literally the fucking kit thing that he has and all that. So it's like, how do you not know this stuff that Evil Ed was going to tell you anyway?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
He
Like
just got ripped off $8, man.
Yeah, why did you need to pay $8 for stuff that you could have seen in any one movie if you'd paid attention long enough?
he should have known these things because again, like it seems like he loves watching those movies because he goes and tracks down Peter Vincent and like, okay, you don't know any of these things. Why do you need reaffirmation of what the stuff you probably already know?
Okay, so after Amy and Charlie have their whole fight thing and they come downstairs and then she leaves, the mom is telling Charlie like, oh yeah, we got new neighbors. She's like, Bob Hawkins told me that, some guy bought it, he's supposed to be really attractive. So I'm like, Did the realtor dude tell Charlie's mom that this guy was hot? Like,
Then maybe he was trying to set her up.
Could have.
I guess, like he's eligible, like
He's
that
an
kind of
eligible
thing.
bachelor, yeah.
And it's funny later when Jerry actually goes and the mom invites him over for that drink.
Bloody Marys, yeah.
Yes, they're drinking
Yeah, I
Bloody
noticed
Marys.
they're drinking
yeah.
Bloody Marys too.
He has this whole talk where he was like, basically, Charlie, I'm going to bone your mom.
Yeah.
Like, he kept going, he's like, I'm so comfortable now that maybe I'll just come over all the time. Sometimes I'll come in the front door, and eventually I'll get so comfortable I'll come through the back door. There was a whole subtext about boning his mom there.
There was a lot of subtext with his words.
His mom was she was just
there for the
She
ride.
needed it, man.
Yeah. Well, they never explained what happened to Dad, but
Yeah, and she apparently works nights a lot of times. She a nurse or something, I think they said.
Vampire killed
Something
the
like
dad.
that.
That's what happened.
But the thing that I did already see coming too is when he went to Evil, like we talked about earlier, and he said, "You're fine as long as he doesn't get invited over." And I'm like, he's gonna come home, and guess who's gonna be sitting at the house? And that's exactly what you seem like. Son of a bitch! I knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah, he had that whole like, oh yeah, everything's gonna be all right. I nailed the windows shut. We're good. Like, motherfuck.
Yeah.
And you know how pissed Charlie's mom's gonna be when she finds out he nailed putting all those holes in that window. Like,
Well, apparently that bitch sleeps like the dead too.
she does, I guess.
I don't get how she didn't hear everything either, too. Yeah, because he got thrown through the closet door. He got thrown up against the wall.
And that
Jerry
was
He flies out the window. He's making a shit ton of noise.
I found
Yeah.
it funny throughout the whole fucking movie. No matter what they were doing, it was always like, fuck, we don't want to fuck with Jerry's mom.
Yeah.
Or not Jerry's mom, Charlie's mom.
Charlie's mom. They were
Because it was
real
like-
respectful of
Because it was
Charlie's
really like,
mom.
all
They
right,
were.
like Jerry heard Charlie's mom waking up, like, let me out of the room. And he's like, fuck, and he just leaves. Like,
Jerry,
like, what? Like, why is everyone afraid of the fucking mom? Because then later, when Peter Vincent shows up at the end, and Evil Ed, the vampire, is there in the bed or whatever, he's like, oh, but she left a note. And he reads a fucking note about his dinner being in the oven. I'm like, you guys are so respectful of Charlie's mom. I don't
maybe
know why.
she's nice. You
It's
don't
just
know.
weird. They're like, oh, fuck, all right.
Like, we can't be mean to
Charlie, we're
her.
going to fucking kill you, but don't worry. We're not going to do anything to your
No,
mom.
the vampire gives Charlie an out, and Charlie's so fucking stupid he doesn't take it.
Yeah.
Like what? He says, "If you leave me alone, I will leave you alone." And then Charlie tries to get that fucking X or the fucking cross out. I'm like, Charlie.
How the fuck do you think you can trust a vampire next door to you, who's just killing hookers and shit?
Yeah.
I mean,
How-
he shouldn't be killing hookers. I'll give you the killing the hookers
How
is
are you
slightly
ever-
bad, but
And I
Charlie
thought-
needs to mind his
And I
business.
thought it was funny when that hooker comes over the next day and she sees Charlie, like, oh, is this 99 Oak? And I'm like, Charlie would have been like, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Right this way, ma'am.
I love when he goes to the diner and like Amy finds him there and she clearly has so much self-esteem. It's
Oh,
just like,
yes.
I didn't think he would call. And he's clearly not even paying any attention to her.
I
But
know,
she's
I'm
still
like-
like, hello,
She's
Charlie.
like, let's do it again. I'm
like,
sorry.
Amy, girl, you need some self-care. You need to
I
figure
don't know
out
what
some
she throws
self-love.
the hamburger or the chili dog
wrote
burger
that,
in his
It was
face.
some sort of chili lettuce concoction that the guy
Whatever-
was putting
yeah,
mustard
Whatever,
on.
whatever they serve at the Max is what I
Yeah.
wrote down. It's the Max from Saved by the Bell. Yeah, I wrote down Amy has no self-esteem.
No, none at all.
No, and it's, you're so cool, Brewster. I hate Evil Ed so much. Okay, when you see Evil Ed, the actor Jeffrey, whatever his name is, I forget.
Yeah.
What movie do you think of?
Oh, shoot. I'm blanking right now.
You 976 Evil for me all the time.
Was that him?
He plays Hoax.
He does?
in 976 Evil. I think of that movie first. This movie second.
I haven't seen 967 Evil in
It's
so
okay. You just said
long.
967
I
Evil.
did.
Okay, turn your mic
Evil.
off. I'm going to turn you down.
976
You're on
Evil.
mute. I'm putting we're instituting a timeout when you guys say silly things like that. Like, Saul, you've seen Monster Squad, right? Before we go any further, because I might kick you off the podcast right now if you've never
Yeah,
seen
I've
Fright
seen it.
Night
Okay.
and Monster Squad.
I've seen Monster Squad.
Because you're on thin ice, buddy. Kim's waiting to step in.
I love how when Charlie starts his voyeurism, when he's like, okay, I'm going to make sure no more hookers get murdered at this house. And he's sitting at the window with his binoculars and his porn stacks and
He
his
even
snacks.
falls asleep at the door.
He fell asleep because he jerked off. There were fucking there was a porn magazine
Yes,
and
there was.
Twinkies on the ground.
Yes.
I'm like, guy had a snack, jerked off, went to
And fell
sleep,
asleep.
man.
Yes.
Carb
sleepy.
load, you
He got sleepy,
busted a nut and you passed out. I'm just
It
saying.
was the cream filling.
I'm just saying, if you're on a watch for a vampire that you think might kill you, don't have
fall asleep.
porn. Like, don't die like that, man. Your mom's gonna find you like that. Don't have your porn sex with your Twinkies.
Okay,
trash.
but he has blue balls because Amy left when the vampires
That's
moved.
That was his
I'm not
fault.
saying it's not his fault. Okay. I'm not saying it's not his fault, but I'm saying he's got blue balls and he's got, he's going to stay up all night. All right. He's a teenager. All right. He's got to do something with that. All right. It's got to go somewhere.
I love when he wakes up after his,
He's got no socks for Christ's
his
sake.
post-cum nap, when he wakes up and he sees, like, he's watching the vampire, like, have sex / eat this other hooker. And he clearly sees the vampire looking at him, and he just stands there staring. And I'm like, what are you doing, you fucking weirdo? Like, leave the room.
Honestly, if you're going to stake out your next door neighbor with a window right across from your fucking window.
Why do you need binoculars?
No, not even that. Like, why do you have, as a 17-year-old, how old do we think Charlie is, right?
He's supposed to be
17?
16, 17, around there, yeah.
Okay, why does he have a neon Coors Light beer sign in his fucking room?
No idea.
And turn off all the lights, you moron.
I know. Turn the TV. Like, if you're snooping after somebody.
This was very, what's that Hitchcock movie?
A Woman in the Window?
No.
Something in the window. Rear Window? No.
That scene was very Hitchcock to me with him watching, but again, stupid. Turn the fucking lights off.
Yeah.
And maybe just, like, if you get caught, excuse yourself out of the staring contest.
Or at least pull the blinds closed and kind of like peek through it.
Right? Like, make it not noticeable.
I've never lived in I didn't grow up in a 2-story house or anything, but should you be jerking off with the window open in the middle of the night? Like, is anyone like, like, dude?
I don't get
people walking by in the neighborhood, like.
Here's what I didn't get about the whole
next
house.
Door, like,
a lot of those windows were open. It's like, do you guys not shut those things at the end of the night? You don't want anybody seeing into your house, especially at night.
Charlie likes to watch, and he likes for people to hear him. That's all I can say.
See, Charlie is a weirdo.
Charlie's got some problems.
He's got some problems.
As a teenager, he's got issues.
He's Captain Save-A-Ho. These hookers are dying. He's like, I got to save the hookers, man.
We're not putting sex workers down.
He's saving them.
He's trying to save them.
I'm putting sex workers down.
We be nice to sex workers. Sex work is work. I love how Charlie goes and finds the cops, but then he's careful about it at first, not to say vampires. But then when they get to the house, he's like, nope, he's in the basement in his coffin asleep. You need to go look right now.
Here's my question on that, though, and I told this to Kim as it was happening. If he's going to the cops, isn't there a thing called anonymous or an anonymity?
Anonymity?
Anonymity, there you go. When you report something, so why the hell are you taking the person
You mean like anonymous tip line or something?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, he could have done that instead of taking a...
Or not even that, though.
detective.
Well, here's the other thing.
No, right now. What's the number then?
What? You call 1-800-SILENT-WITNESS.
You think that's the thing in
Something like that.
1985?
No, but still, though,
and
here.
you're just guessing. So if your neighbors right now is running drug, who are you going to call anonymously?
You can call police.
You don't know
And
the
tell them
fucking
you're
number.
Yes, you do. I know the police.
There were no internet back then.
But still, though, here's my point. He goes in there, and you think that even as the cop, as an investigator, would be like, let me bring the person who's accusing all of this stuff with me. So now the person, if they are doing something, knows who it is, and now you're putting them in danger. I just didn't get that.
I love when Charlie, like, after the cop leaves and everything, and he's like, come on, we're going to get this vampire thinking kid out of here. And, like, he leaves. It's not until then he realized that it might not be super smart to fuck with vampires.
Yeah.
Like, that's the first time he's like, oh shit, it's almost nighttime.
And
like,
again,
what? Like, that's the first time you were scared of the vampire?
And again, knowing what you know, or you should know, because this is when he runs to Evil Ed's house and be like, what do I know? How do I defeat vampires? Like, knowing anything, like, even if you went in there with a cop and they was like, yep, we're vampires, look, and then he kills the cop, like, what the fuck are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, you're just fucked, right? I mean, I know it was still daytime or whatever, but...
Especially when you know night's coming.
It's like, he didn't think about this at all. Like, that's the one thing that bothered me about the fucking movie.
He's a dumb kid.
He's a horror
very
fan,
dumb kid, yes.
but he just, like, all his knowledge or logic goes out the window with this thing. And I get that, in real life, if there was a vampire all of a sudden like thrust upon you in your neighborhood, you would be like, holy shit. But you'd still know the fucking rules.
I'd mind my business. Just saying.
You could mind your business. But still, I agree with Paul. If you know the rules, what is it that everybody does when they do a vampire hunt or vampire kill movie?
If we walk out right now and there's fucking zombies, I'm going to close the door and be like, okay.
Shoot them in the head.
I'm going to take a minute, but I know exactly what the fuck to do right now.
Yes. Don't make any noise.
Did this whole movie happen over like the course of a week? Because I feel like...
I think so. It was like...
Because it was like they were going to kill him one day, and then that's when they're like, oh, they're going to come over tomorrow. We'll just kill him then.
Well, I think what happened is when he runs to Evil Ed gets all that stuff, and that's when he finds out, don't let him in your house. When he comes back, he finds the neighbor in there, and then that's when later on in the night where he comes into the house.
Yeah, but the night before is when he was watching. That's when they dragged the body out. And for some reason, Charlie went outside to watch him drag the body out. I'm like, what are you doing outside? Why are you under that bush that we can all clearly see you under? Like, what are you doing?
After he wakes his fucking mom up to be like, hey.
There's a vampire. Like,
There's a vampire outside. There's a vampire outside.
Oh, Charlie.
And his stealth skills are terrible because he's hiding in a stupid bush where you can see his face.
And the vampire just throws
keeps
that apple.
looking at him.
Like, he just throws that apple like,
and he ate
we
the
all
core.
see you.
He ate the core. That's gross.
Yes.
He ate the core of the apple.
He's a vampire.
It's because Charlie doesn't have a dad. See, Charlie doesn't have a dad. Tell him like, all right, you're being stupid. Go back.
But still, you got to think though. Jerry's looking at him like when he sees him in that bush. He's like, I see this motherfucker's face. He's looking straight at me, and he thinks I can't see him.
Yeah,
I do have to say the bat cam footage, like off the roof and then to the thing. I thought that was a pretty cool shot.
Yeah, I always like those kind of shots where like you flying with the bat out of hell kind of a thing.
Here's the other thing now too about now modern day cinema is they don't use the bat thing anymore. Like I remember back when we were kids and all that, they used to always do the whole vampires turn into bats, and I don't see that anymore.
Except on What We Do in the Shadows.
Except for that. Bat. But yeah, that's like one of the lores I wish they would bring back though in vampire movies. Like turn them into fucking bats again. You've forgot about this, and you cannot walk around in the fucking day.
And I feel like every vampire movie has their own rules for like if the mist that vampires can become, like if that can do anything. Because this one, it's like the mist shows up, but then it's not even where he shows up behind him.
The aggressive fog is what I call
this.
Yes.
But then in like Bram Stoker's Dracula, like the mist comes in the room and was able to throw Renfield around in the insane asylum.
Yeah.
So it's like the mist can do stuff or it can't, and like every vampire movie makes their decision about that. I guess that's just
it's
like
the same thing.
Movies,
with zombies, they all make the choice of how smart and how fast to make them at the time. I do love that though when he is fighting with Charlie when he comes over after he meets his mom, and like he gives him that choice. He's like, if you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. And then Charlie gets the cross out. I love when Charlie gets a hold of that pencil and stabs his hand, and then he twirls around like he's like
spin.
With his hand and twirls around, and I was like,
why is
so
he all
great.
of a sudden on like a fucking merry-go-round or something?
Yeah, and then he gets all crusty vampire. You see his crusty vampire-ness.
Okay, that was my question. Can you kill a vampire with a pencil?
I would assume so. If
It's a piece of wood.
Yeah, if he goes through the heart.
Then why the fuck wouldn't you just carry pencils with you all the fucking
You could
time?
carry lots of stuff with you that Charlie doesn't carry.
No, but like, I'm not even talking about Charlie. I'm just saying in the lore of fucking vampires in the world, it's like Blade could have been like, pencil.
Well, it's probably hard and small to get in there.
Okay, look.
You have to
Put
sharpen
a pencil right here on my wrist, like in the thing, right? That thing.
Yeah, but if they've got any kind of cover or anything, pencils break easy.
Yeah.
That's why you need the thickness of a steak, Paul.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm saying for like in close quarters, like your very last fucking hope of anything, like
Is a pencil.
Like you've got nothing else. All the other fucking weapons you've had on you, like you have nothing. You just pull out the pencil. Boom.
I guess if
That's what I'm saying. All right. That's
Okay.
a very like we've said in the whole thing. The eyes and the nostrils are underlooked in a street fight. Pencils are underlooked in a vampire fight.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but if I'm gonna go battle vampires, and let me get my pencils real quick. I'm sorry.
You never
that's
know
just
when
not
it'll save
me.
you.
No one's gonna be expecting a pencil. A vampire's
Exactly.
not gonna be like, all right, I see all these stakes of what the fuck, a pencil. Oh,
I'm just saying it's kind of hard to get through somebody's chest cavity into their heart with a fucking pencil. That's all I'm saying, okay?
Stupid ass horny blue balls Charlie was able to fucking do it.
Yeah. Through his hand.
Through his hand, not his heart.
Okay, but he was just struggling to do anything because that was, again, the very last glimmer of hope because he was about to fucking die.
So you're going to take pencils with you to fight vampires on the off chance that it comes down to you
Yes.
and him. And
I'm
you're
gonna hold you to
close
that, Paul.
enough.
Okay, if all of my other weapons that they're expecting you to show up with crosses
This is why women
and
live longer
water
than men. Is all I'm saying. This is
and
why
stakes.
women
They're
live longer
expecting all
than
that
men.
shit. They're already expecting all that shit, right? That's just the generic vampire slayer garb that you carry. No one's expecting a pencil.
So in your many pockets of utility stuff,
If
you're
it
going to have
works,
a pencil in there?
if it works, why not?
Or you just put it behind your ear?
Fucking pocket protector, really. You see
Put it
this?
behind your ear and be like, I have my pencil.
So the vampire
it's a
comes in
surprise.
and starts beating up Charlie, and the mom wakes up. And I love how when the mom wakes up, she's like, "Do you want a Valium?" I was like, "Did everybody just have Valium in the 80s? Like, did they just give everybody a prescription? Like,
Let's
oh, you're
put him
over
to
30,
sleep.
here's some Valium."
Well,
Like,
Well,
he
she's
tells
a
her that
single
he had
mom
a,
that works nights. So what do you want? She's gotta sleep and just stay relaxed, all right?
Well, he forgot that she said, or he told her that he had a nightmare. And I'm like, okay, that'll solve it. Let me give you a Valium.
Yep.
And I love that she just makes him fucking cocoa after he comes in after seeing the bat and then the fucking when they're disposing of that fucking body or whatever. And he was like, and I love that Jerry's like, "You forgot her fucking purse. Get this out of here, man. Come on, do better, Billy."
I love when he calls Charlie later.
I was like, 2 seconds later. That's
Yeah.
the thing. I was like,
It calls.
this bitch sleeps like the dead because she gets up like, "What the fuck was that, Charlie?" Oh, it was just a bad dream. Like, fuck, man, I'm working nights. I gotta go.
And she goes back to sleep.
And then the phone rings and she was like, immediately nothing. Like, this bitch is the Valium's just working overtime. I guess.
Yes.
No, he calls and he's like, "You started this, Charlie. Now I'm going to have to finish it." I'm like, see, Charlie should have minded his own fucking
See,
business.
and Charlie should close the fucking window because he turns and the vampires are like, "Look, bitch, I'm on the phone staring at you from across the fucking window
Yeah.
I love how, like,
where I bone bitches."
like you said, he went to evil even though he should have known all the things. I love how he goes to Peter Vincent. I'm like, oh yeah, this is some actor's gonna know how to kill this vampire.
Exactly.
Like,
This
what are you
guy's
doing, Charlie?
This guy's an actor who's a career role as a vampire hunter or whatever it is that he is. And like, how is he going to help you any more than Evil Ed was going to help you or that you're going to be able to do?
or what you should already know having watched all of this
Yeah.
guy's films.
Yes.
And Charlie is so like, nobody believes me. I'm like, that's because you're just going up to people and being like,
Yes.
they're vampires. Like, get a better line, Charlie.
You're not sitting them down. You're
Figure
not
it
trying
out.
to explain things that are going on. You're just jumping in them like there's a vampire trying to kill me.
Okay, I do have to say that the guy that wrote it and also directed it, he did want the kind of aspect of like the boy who cried wolf kind
okay.
of
Yeah.
thing. So I mean, he did set the way. I mean, the way Charlie is just being stupid about like when he calls the Die Hard 2 detective to come over to the house.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
No,
like,
it's definitely-
he's shutting
yeah.
down like the avenues that
The
he's
avenues.
able to go
And
to.
it's definitely,
See, that would have made more sense to me is if he had done that in the past. He'd be like, son of a bitch, he's thinking there's vampires again.
Yeah, I think that would have like if there was a backstory or something
Yeah.
like, you know, a little just something that we're like he's a little off or whatever. I don't know.
yeah,
but-
because even when the detective leaves, he's just like, oh, he thinks he's a vampire. I'm like, but he also said that woman was there. So you should maybe just
Yeah.
look. I mean, it is a murder.
Yeah.
Maybe we should look a little harder, but
okay, and I know like just playing devil's advocate here, right? Charlie could have just been like, "Look, I saw this hooker. She was here, and then I saw her on the news. The cab dropped her off here. It was a yellow cab, like blah. Like you could have
stuff you
been
can
Yes.
corroborate, right?
Yes.
total been like this cab dropped her off. She got
Detective is
out.
crap.
She was asking for this address, and then she went in, and the next day I saw her on the fucking news. Like,
Yeah,
that's
he's a
all
terrible
you have
detective.
to fucking say, man.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, like Angie said, everything can corroborate and you can be like, okay, you might have been the last person that saw her alive. What did she look like? And you tell her exactly what she was doing. And then, yeah, you go investigate off of
She
that.
was
But
here.
no.
She didn't have a bra. Her nipples were poking. Like, all right, son, we don't need all those.
There's a
details.
lot of nipples poking through stuff. They
Yes.
really went hard with the hard nipples in this movie. I'm really
There's
thinking
a-
that any woman in this film had to put on those fake nipples that make them look extra pointy.
No, the IMDb trivia said the hooker's nipples they just put ice over.
Did they really
What?
make
Yeah.
that poor girl
They-
ice
they
her
put ice.
nipples?
Oh, my goodness.
They iced the nipples. They had wardrobe ice her nipples before. She
It
got
was
into-
essential that she had her nipples out in this film.
Okay, well, if you're paying for a hooker, I want with hard nipples. Okay.
Can you imagine that, though, when you get the wardrobe and be like, okay, you're not going to like this. We got some ice for you. I was like, what's that ice for? He's like, we can
How do
make
you
your
know
nipples
she's
hard.
not gonna like it? You don't know what she's into.
But still,
hey,
though,
she got
can you,
paid.
can you
Make that
imagine the
money.
day, though, on that set, especially if you're the person applying the ice?
She's
or if you have
playing
somebody
a
else doing it?
hooker, okay? It's not like they hired her to play a librarian and she's like, why are my nipples hard? That's two totally different things, man.
Still, I would just find it funny that you show up to call and that's what you find out you have to do. I'm like,
I'm
okay.
sure they told her before the scenes we're gonna.
I love
your
though
nipples.
after he calls Amy and Evil and they both like meet up at the house at the same time and they're like, why are you here? Why are you here? Like,
I love the fact that she was riding that little scooter thing. That was cracking me up.
and they find him in that crazy panic and whittling steaks.
Yeah.
I love how he's just
Okay,
like,
I get the garlic, I get the crosses and all that other shit.
But what's with the excessive candles?
Yeah.
What are the candles gonna do?
Not
Except
just that,
start a
though, but where the
fire.
hell did
Yeah.
he get all those candles
Or get
from?
Yeah.
or get wax everywhere. Like what the fuck is that gonna do?
he ran by the first Catholic church he found and just got
Yeah.
everything.
Like, I'm going to take your
there.
candles.
It's
I
the
need
Catholic
these
surplus store. Is
candles,
that
I
the Catholic
need-
surplus store? What do they have? Like a religious store? I'm pretty sure. Like the religious
I don't know what it's
thrift
called,
shop.
but
Like,
yeah.
I need-
Where's your
these.
vampire section? I need like okay, take it right at the
all I could
exorcism
see
section.
in those scenes was like those wispy goddamn curtains behind that is gonna go up in flames.
Yes.
This was gonna
It's like you're not protecting yourself from vampires. You're
I
creating
know.
a fire
All
hazard.
fucking
Dude.
all Jerry has to do from across the thing is go.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mark, your house is burned, and your mom doesn't die because she's at work. So fuck
she's
you,
at
Charlie.
work, so it's just you, Charlie.
Yeah, and that would have been the end of the movie. Dun, dun.
Mm-hmm.
Solved.
I did think Charlie was crazy, and I know that in the trivia that he actually had bad food poisoning. Then I was like,
He
okay,
didn't look right. If
He
you
didn't,
think
yeah,
about it,
he
he
looked
looked pale.
sick,
He
yeah.
looked sick.
I think it really added to that scene.
it did.
Really helped.
It really
like-
did. Because even watching this, it's like he does look like it's
He
been
looks
like 4
off.
days that he hasn't
Yeah.
slept. Like that's what it looks like.
Well, he must have spent 4
Okay,
days
well,
putting up
how
all
the
the damn
fuck do you
candles.
sleep when a vampire is after you and he can
Well,
only move at night?
The vampire wouldn't have been after him had he minded his own business.
Yes.
And you
That's what I'm
can't,
saying.
and you can't really sleep during the day
Mind
because
your business.
you have to still go to school or whatever. Plus, Billy Cole could come kill you if he wanted to
He really could have the
during the
whole
day. So,
time.
so really, 24 hours a day, like you're fucked. Way to go, Charlie! You just fucked yourself, man.
I love how Amy is like, no, we're gonna go try to convince this actor to come over and help it. Why?
With my savings bond.
With my savings bond.
I
Like,
have a $500 savings bond. We can
Like-
pay him with that.
Amy,
It'll be worth
listen,
$500 in 2012.
That the boy
Exactly.
is crazy, Amy. You could do better.
Yes.
Amy has low self-esteem.
She
Low
really
to no.
thinks that it's all like a ploy to get her back at one point because
Yeah.
she's like,
Oh yeah, in the Max when she's like, "Oh, is this just a thing to get me back?" I was like, "Amy has."
I
no
know. It's like,
self-esteem.
girl, girl.
Yes. I was like, is this the best you can do? You can find someone better.
She does, Jerry.
Yes.
And not to
Even though he's like 137 and she's like 14 or whatever.
I
How
know.
old she's supposed to be.
We'll get. I mean, even though she's almost
Yeah.
30 in the real life, but
So she pays the guy to gaslight her boyfriend into believing that he's not a vampire because that's essentially what they were doing. They're like, we'll just go over with some regular water and that'll prove that you're not a vampire. And so, yeah, they lie to fucking
Yeah.
Charlie about it. And then at the last second, that trusty mirror that he,
the movie prop.
yes, the
movie
movie
Still got the
prop.
prop. That's Roddy McDowell, by the way.
Is that who that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Son of
What's he
bitches.
from?
Yeah, what's he from, Paul?
If you look in Peter Vincent's house, in the background on the wall, there's a little like face thing, like a plaster thing, a decoration.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually the plaster face thing that they used when they were making his mask for Planet of the Apes. You sons of bitches.
Oh, no clue. I
See,
wasn't
I wasn't
alive
a big
then.
fan of Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I wasn't
I've seen
alive
them, but
then.
I wasn't like overly fan of them.
Yeah.
Don't test me. That's all I'm saying.
Nobody was testing you. And then, so when they go to gaslight Charlie, Jerry gets his first glimpse of Amy, and he really is picking up what Amy's putting down.
Yes.
He really is
This
like,
girl is
No,
desperate.
hey, Amy.
It's like the Bram Stoker's Dracula movie.
Yeah, the
not
painting.
not the actual story of Bram Stoker's, but the movie in '92, the Coppola.
Yeah.
And it was the whole lost love thing, and it's like, oh my God, she's the 14-year-old version of Rebecca or whoever the fuck she was, right?
Well, it was when he was doing the whole snooping around this house. He sees that one painting that mysteriously looks a lot like her.
I know.
he
like,
wasn't
yeah,
even snooping. Like, he
Like, he
comes
was
in
just
with the
going
detective, and
through
it's like,
shit.
what is this? What is it?
Yeah, he just starts
are you
going
doing,
through
Charlie?
shit. Like the cops, like, wait, what the fuck's going on here?
So you would think Billy would be like, hey, kid, what the fuck are you doing? This isn't your house.
Oh,
That scene wasn't supposed to be like a comedic kind of thing, but the actor that played Billy Cole, when he auditioned for the role, he did it as a kind of the funny way that he did it in the movie.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's good. So that's why they gave him the part. And they're like, we'll do it that way. That's a little more fun. And he's like, oh, we're vampires. Woo!
yeah.
Except it was confusing with what he was supposed to be.
Oh, when
That's
he,
what I don't get either.
Yeah, when
because
he
I'm
gets
like,
attacked at
so
the end,
wait,
he just
he's,
melts.
He's
Yeah.
not a vampire.
I wrote him as a ghoul. I figure
Like, I
like
don't
he's,
get, like, he's-
an undead
I just don't
zombie
get what he
that
was.
But at,
it's kind of like
Okay.
a familiar, but not.
but at parts, I'm like, are Jerry and Billy doing it?
They might have
Because they
been.
seemed a little too comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
Because there's a part where he goes up behind him and he's like,
Yeah.
Billy.
I didn't pick up that at all.
I thought that too, especially with what Paul's talking about.
I just thought that was men in the 80s.
why in the 80s was a sweater acceptable club attire? Like, I don't get that.
They really dug their sweaters in
like,
the 80s.
I do not get that. That and the fucking trench coats. Like, I feel like that leather, I mean, I don't know if it was real leather, but just assume it was for the movie sake. Like, that had to be like a $500 fucking like leather trench coat. Like, why were trench coats a thing at all? And like, when he goes after them later, and I'm like, got your going out trench coat?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
they run into the club. Did he have to leave and
He
go
checked
change?
his coat. No,
Yeah,
he
he
just
did
checked
check
his
his
coat.
coat.
I don't know if he was wearing his going out sweater underneath
Yeah, he was.
the $500.
The thing that I
Trench
thought was
coat.
weird, especially about that sweater, was how that weird round cut like went around the shoulders.
Guys, it was the 80s.
Still though,
That's how men dressed, okay? They were close to each other. They dressed like that, okay? It was the 80s. That's all it was.
No.
I love how when they
Can't
go,
accept that. No,
when they
there's
go,
no sweaters at the club,
Yes,
man.
there's
Yeah.
sweaters at the
no
club.
sweaters at the club.
I do love though that they're trying to convince Charlie that Jerry's not a vampire, and like he just gets shitty after a while. He's like, "Where's your coffin?" Like he gets all like condescending about it towards Jerry. And then Ed basically gets peer pressured into being a vampire, is what I wrote down.
Ed
Yes.
has no self-esteem.
He has none.
None of these people
Like
do.
he's like, "Come on, Ed! All you gotta do is take my hand." That's like, I got no other friends, and he just goes along with them.
Take my hand, Charlie. I know, Charlie. Ed. They'll stop picking on you, Ed.
And then Jerry uses
know what
his
it's
mind
like
control
to
to
be
make
different.
Amy dance. I'm like, what? What do we need to make Amy dance in the club
Yeah.
for?
And here's my thing about that, right? If he's using mind control to make Amy dance and do all that stuff, like he goes to bite her and like she does this thing where she pulls back and is like, like trying. I'm like, did he make
What?
her do that too then? 'Cause-
No, I loved how the more like hypnotized she got, the bigger her hair got.
Yeah.
And also the more
Yes.
makeup she had
And
on.
the longer, and then later,
Yeah, when she becomes more vampire, her
Yeah.
hair gets
her
longer.
hair got all
and shit.
super long. and,
I'm like, what is it with the vampire magic that makes it does numbers on your hair? Because apparently I need
well,
some of that.
it's forever voluminous and
And how many times did he bite her? Because when you see her on the ground and they show the back view and they show her shoulder, she had like
He's got 4, so
Yeah.
2 top, 2 bottom.
so.
It's
how-
And
just-
Jerry
yeah,
is a
it's just bottom
sloppy
teeth.
Oh, okay.
fucking
Yeah.
eater, man. Like,
Jerry
how
is.
long have you been a vampire that you
Right?
can't get this? Like, why do vampires always spill shit? Like, that's the
Don't know.
thing, too. Like,
Again, we've seen what we do in the shadows.
Yes.
It just spurts out, okay? If you hit the wrong artery,
But I'm saying, like,
gets all
okay,
over your couch, all right?
if even cool sweater, fucking leather trench coat Jerry Dandridge can't eat somebody without spilling a drop, like, what the fuck, man?
I love how when we get back to Peter Vincent, like he's just fucking terrified,
Oh,
like
yeah.
in his apartment. He's just like,
like I'm gone. I'm leaving.
Yeah. Well, if you imagine, again, it's that whole thing, the realism of like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, there are vampires.
And
I am a fraud.
I love that when Amy wakes up in the sex den, and she's just like, I have this new dress on, and she doesn't question them.
Yeah, I
at
was
all.
like, did you just change that 14-year-old girl?
And then she sees herself in the painting, and then that's enough for her just to start making out with a vampire.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing, girl? Like,
Made a painting of me.
Amy has low self-esteem.
I guess.
And Jerry is way cooler than Charlie.
and
so.
no, and I wrote Amy's into it at this point, right? Like when
Yeah.
she takes her dress off and
Yeah.
like she basically just presents her neck to Jerry. I'm like, she's just into it at this
Look
point, right? Like
at
she's
my
just
boobs.
going along with this whole sex thing with a 128 man when she's supposed to be 16.
Yeah, something like that.
There's some weird themes. That's all I'm
It's
saying.
it's like that thing in Euro Trip. Like, I want to meet a European man and sail around the world.
Yes.
That's he's tall, dark, handsome. He's got an awesome trench coat and sweater vests or sweater collection and cool old house with a tuba in the basement, by the way.
Yeah.
I do love when Peter and Charlie get to the house and Jerry goes, "Welcome to Fright Night." You got to have the title in there
I
somewhere.
know they've said the title in this movie like 3 or 4 different times. Not,
Yeah.
and not even including just the fact that, they're watching the Fright Night thing on, Peter Vincent's
Yeah.
show or whatever.
I love when he takes out the cross and he's like, "You got to have faith." And after that, I was like, "You got to have faith." Like it got stuck in my head. I couldn't not do it anymore. So if I ever come across a vampire, I'm just gonna
You start sticking faith.
Yep.
He's like, what is she doing? He's like, oh no, she's gonna have faith now.
Yep, and then I love how he's like, I have faith, and then scares the vampire away.
Okay,
I'm like, what?
Okay, I know in this movie they show that if you touch them with the cross, it burns them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But what does seeing it do that Jared just goes, oh?
I know. I'm like, what is
Does it
that?
start draining his power
What's
is what
going
I'm
on?
guessing.
Like, what does that do, man?
Every
Like, I don't
time
get it.
I was like, he's about to puke, and he's just going, every time. I'm like,
every
he's
time
just gonna puke. That's
Every
what's
time
gonna
they were
happen.
like, you gotta have faith or it's not gonna work. I'm like, so like in Neverland, because that's what I'm getting.
you can't
like,
fly if you don't if you don't believe.
The whole dinner frosting scene in Hook for me. And
Yes.
like if you believe it's there, it's
It's
gonna work.
working, Peter. It's working.
That's what needs to happen. I'm gonna go with Angie's route though of start singing Faith in the background to get
Yep.
it to work.
It's gonna be.
See, you start singing Faith, and the vampire's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Boom, pencil to the
There you
neck.
go.
Pencil to neck.
Pencil to the neck, and then you come in with the stake. See, you fuckers laugh.
Oh, and then they got to get past the ghoul. Like I said, I called Billy a ghoul because it's
Yeah.
just a general term for.
Yeah.
He just like melts away.
That
he
is
like
a
witch
great
to the
fucking
west.
death, though.
It is.
I love that scene.
I don't understand what's going on with his eyes at the end of the scene. But
I don't get
that
it
was
either.
the only thing.
And the whole thing where they shoot him and he comes up the staircase. The trivia said the director wanted to do kind of like a homage to like Abbott and Costello kind of movies where they're like
okay.
walking up the stairs. They kind of look at each other and then notice him in the background.
Yeah,
kind of
I
thing.
like that kind of comedy. I didn't understand though. What about shooting him made more fog come out of downstairs?
I don't like. That can't be from the gun because we were watching them like, why
Yeah.
is this fog coming from
It's
downstairs?
just showing
Like,
up.
Yeah, so much.
And then
Okay.
he had that one side eye. Is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Yes, where
he
it's like
looked-
off
Yeah.
to the side.
He
I was
looked like the Geico lizard or something.
Yes.
It's just like,
I did.
Rango. That's
I
what it
do have a question about the aesthetic of that house because you know how when they were going up the stairs, there's that big giant ass stained glass
Yeah.
window. Here's my question on that, especially when they use it to defeat Jerry. If you were to assume that the stained glass is in the middle of the house, where the fuck did they get all that sun to come in from?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that was on
Or
the
when he
second
crashed through.
story, though. That
No,
on
it
the
was like
second
like
story.
on like the mezzanine thing when you start
Yeah,
going up.
the stairs.
Yeah,
Because
but
if you look
that-
at the house, the way the layout was is there was nothing like in the middle to where it would let that sun out or in. What is
Well,
what I
that
should
would.
say.
It seemed like that was halfway up the stairs.
Yeah, but if you look at it, if you're the house, if everything's enclosed around it, like where would you like?
Well, that seemed like there was a window that led to outside right there. Because once you see it, once they open, when they break it, like the sun's coming through there. You see the sky out there and everything. So,
So is it like pointed up?
I don't know.
See, that's one thing
if,
I didn't-
If it was either on the second floor or like the middle of the first and second floor or something.
Either way, I
don't know.
It confused me.
because the Charlie's house like faced it weirdly too.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time they looked at it, it looked like it was like 100 yards away. And
Yeah,
then it was like
I just
right there.
assumed that it was a layout that they weren't going to have anybody think about. So
That's the first thing I
care
thought.
to
Of.
it.
They were like,
Because when you first
they're
see
like,
it,
no one will pay attention.
one will pay
like
attention
in the
to
like
this.
in The Shining, or like nobody.
Yeah,
Will pay
no.
attention.
to me,
Nobody's
like
gonna pay
when
to
you
play
first
that.
see it and you see him in the house, I'm like that's a really cool stained glass windows. Like I don't know what purpose it serves there, but
I know. And why didn't you paint over that one too? Like
Yeah.
just in case, right?
because you
Like-
weren't going to be up there at all during the day.
Well, yeah, but they
That was the
painted
whole
all
point.
the bottom ones.
Yeah, because that's where you sleep during the day.
yes, but why not just precaution?
Because that would be suspicious that
Because
people would think a
fucking-
vampire lives there.
Who gives a shit? He's killing hookers and then dumping the bodies. You think
Yes.
he's gonna stay here for a little while, then move on? That's what he does.
Yes. We got to get back to this movie. Stop
Okay.
talking about the layout of the damn house, you weirdos.
I had that weird aesthetic question about it. It made no sense to me.
I love how when Peter, like, he basically leaves Charlie at first after Charlie gets knocked over the stairs.
Yeah.
And then he just runs to his other house and is like, Mrs. Brewster. And that's where he
I
meets
know, like,
Evil.
what was his plan? I'm like, you're just like, your son's over there. He might die of vampires. I gotta get the fuck out of
I
here.
gotta go. But Evil
Just
attacks.
thought I should tell somebody. Bye.
Evil attacks Peter, and I'm like, okay, wait, now we're really mixing the
Yeah.
lore. Because how is Evil into a werewolf? Like,
That's what's confusing me because I saw the wolf. I'm like, okay, where did the wolf come from?
yeah, it's very.
And then it gets
Okay.
the stake to the
Weird
heart, and you see the
mythology.
weird long ass
But
drawn out death with him.
vampires can turn into wolves.
Where?
They can turn into wolves.
I guess
Can
they
they?
did in Bram Stoker.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Bram
As
Stoker,
it did,
he
yeah.
turns into a wolf. Like,
Okay.
They can turn into other
Does he
things.
turn into a wolf, or does he say this is my familiar
No,
in
I
Bram
don't
Stoker's?
I don't remember. I think
if he turns into a
werewolves
wolf.
can turn, or vampires can turn into a wolf. It's not like a werewolf. It's
That's
just like
true.
a regular
It's
wolf.
just a wolf. That's true.
If the guy in fucking Harry Potter can turn into a wolf, why the fuck can't a vampire?
That's magic,
All right.
Paul. That's not.
Vampires have magic.
But still, though, you have-
Angie.
okay,
they
so-
can control people with their eyes.
Fair enough.
But you have evil have that long, drawn out death that he had where.
That was like super sad and cheesy
Yeah.
at the same
And
time.
his
like,
little voice, like he's just whimpering the whole time, and I was like, Peter
wrote
fucks him
down-
up with that leg though, and it's
Yeah,
all
he
his
does.
fault because he ran and was trying to jump on top of him.
Yeah.
like it's all your fault,
No,
evil.
I wrote down, so non-athletic people make non-athletic vampires apparently, because all he does is run after him and then he just throws him over the stairs or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
that did nothing, Ed. Like, what was your plan there?
Yeah. Like you're just going to charge him and hopefully knock him off.
Yeah. But then Peter becomes brave all of a sudden, and he goes back out and looks at the house. And I put, somebody turned the fog on too high on top of the house because there's so much
They're
fog
working
coming
the
off
fog
that
machine
house.
too
I
hard.
wrote down, I want a house that just constantly emits fog like that. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, I want my regular house to look like that every day. Like,
And
Why
I
put
want
the
to
fog
know, like,
machines?
with Billy, why the shooting didn't work, but stabbing him with a stake worked.
Especially, did they just stab him?
That's
never mind.
what makes him melt. Yeah.
Because the one thing that I thought that was funny is when he did stab him, it looked like he was holding it in between his arm and his shoulders, like right
Yeah.
here, and that's what. Like that's kind of
yeah, see, that's I don't get it about Billy either, because like, he's not a vampire, but the wooden stake
killed him.
killed
Killed him.
him instead of because he shot him in the fucking head,
Yeah.
like point blank in the fucking right in the middle of the forehead.
And then he got another
And
5
then he
rounds
walked
to the
up,
body.
and he walked up and just had the lazy lizard eye, and was like,
That lazy lizard eye, man.
until Charlie was like, all right, try this on, motherfucker.
And then Amy wakes up, turned,
If only Charlie was that cool.
Yes.
but now her hair is longer and her nips are even harder.
Okay, I think that they put. It looked like she had a bra on with fake boobs on top of it to make her boobs look bigger. Because like she had longer hair, like definitely her.
I don't
nips
know
were out,
why nipples needed to be a theme in this film, but apparently it is.
because apparently if you're a vampire man, you need to have longer fingers and
Yes.
long fingernails.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a woman, you need to have your nipples out
And longer
Yeah.
hair.
and longer hair that is a little more frizzy, I guess.
Yes.
She had a lot of volume in that hair.
Yes.
And I do love the scene with the clocks. It's kind of it's definitely an 80s thing where to show they're out of time, like how
Yeah.
all the clocks are going off on the wall.
You say that, I'm like out of time. That makes Back to the Future with all the clocks.
Yes. See? It's the 80s, yes.
Chris Sarandon, who played Jerry Dandridge, in some of those final scenes, it said in the IMDb trivia that he had to spend 8 hours in makeup, and
For the crusty vampire look?
and that it took so long that sometimes while they were doing it, he would start doing the finger extensions just to get
Yeah.
shit out of the way, because he's like, I'm just gonna fucking sit here for 8 hours, so like I have nothing else to do. So
Well, that's crazy that you'd have to spend that much time in a makeup chair for what?
I can't even. And then how long you're gonna film after?
Yeah,
that?
exactly.
Right? For like 8 to
Seriously,
10
like,
hours,
ugh.
right? Yeah.
Like you're up for 24 hours basically.
Oh, that would
2/3 of a day at least.
I do love how when he gets burned and then he goes after Peter again as kind of semi-bat,
Yeah.
like creature. But then he gets burned again. He's just like, fuck this, I'm going to bed. He flies downstairs to his coffin.
I know. Like, did you think you were gonna wrap this up? Like, as the bat creature thing, you were gonna wrap this up real quick,
Yeah.
and then just hop into bed. Like,
Yeah.
Roddy McDowell, who plays Peter Vincent, apparently in that scene he fucked up the skull on the bat because it was a kind of like an animatronic kind of thing. And when he puts the bone in the mouth to fight it, apparently he did it too hard the first time
And he broke it.
fucked up the skull. So they had to stop filming for 2 days while they fixed that.
Oh,
Like, you
shit.
son of a
Go back
bitch.
to it.
You're like, oops.
Well, that's where their $1 million budget for effects came in, I guess.
Yeah, there's another thing that they've got at the end, and I'll talk about it at the very end. It's the Jerry Dandridge's actual death. So
Okay.
Okay, well, yeah. So he flies downstairs, and meanwhile, Amy's afoot with her nipples and her makeup and her hair.
and like 50 teeth in the one scene. Of that
Yes,
video. She
50
she reminded
teeth.
me of Pennywise in like the newer version. It's like all
Yeah.
the teeth and everything.
But then Amy starts going crazy and trying to kill Charlie because she's hungry. She's a new little baby vampire. She's got to get that
needs to
blood.
eat.
And Peter's trying to get the vampire out of his coffin, but he sealed himself in there. And then Peter gets it open. And then,
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Here's my fucking thing. All right. They get to the thing, and they open that secret room. Peter Vincent finds the coffin, right? And he's
Yeah.
like, I can't get it open. I can't get it open. Tie that shit up, right? Drag that fucking coffin outside in the front lawn. Light it on fire. If the vampire comes out, you're in sunlight. If he doesn't, he's fucking burned, and then he'll have to come out eventually. Done. Problem solved.
Smoke him out.
Yeah, or break all the fucking windows before you start opening the fucking coffin. Like, I don't know. Think about these fucking things,
Well,
man.
no.
But I think at that point, I don't think they realized what time it was.
No. See, I have a thing
No,
about that because
this was already after they broke the window and all that
Oh, okay.
this
upstairs.
is when he was downstairs. Yeah, and so Peter gets the coffin open, misses his heart, and stakes him, and then the vampire comes out, and he sealed his own fate because he pulls the stake out and throws it at the window. They didn't realize the windows were there until he does that. So it was kind of his own fault that he had to throw shit around.
I'll give you that one because, this is true.
Okay.
Yeah. So, they wouldn't have known those windows were painted or whatever. They would have just thought it was, they knew there was windows somewhere, but they didn't notice them until he breaks it.
Good rule of thumb is you're going to go kill a vampire in his own house, just break everything real quick.
Break the windows.
Tap on all the walls, see what you can break. Just whatever, man. Break everything. Fuck it.
Or do that before you go into the house.
Or why don't you just light the house on fire? How
Right?
about
Just burn that bitch down. Definitely
Where's
make
he
sure
gonna
that
go? Either way, I think fire needs to happen and then sunlight take care of the rest.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. But then the sunlight does
What it's supposed to do.
what it's supposed to do and burns poor Jerry to the ground. But he has like a weird bat skeleton. I've always loved the creepy skeletons that they give vampires. I always think that that's a nice touch instead of just like a human one.
So apparently the effects company that did that and like bat skeleton looking thing and the weird face that you see, there's a really good shot of it in there where you see like the kind of pointy face or whatever.
Yeah, with the green flames and shit.
Apparently they had built that for Ghostbusters for the librarian scene.
Ooh.
But they were like, that's too graphic to keep our PG or whatever. So they ended up scrapping using that or whatever. And then when they were working on this, like, we can just reconstitute this, add some shit to it, and throw that in there.
Might as well.
It worked really good for this movie. So interesting fact about that.
And then all is well. Amy's nipples and hair return to normal as well as her face.
Yes.
Did her boobs get smaller or did she get to keep those?
I think they
I think they got smaller because her nipples went right away. So that must have been
her hair just goes back up. Her boobs
Everything
go
shrinks.
back in. It's like, shit.
Yep. And
Amy, your boob. Oh, never mind.
Darn. You don't get to keep those? Damn. So does evil return in the second one? Because it's unclear at the end. Because they give that little glimpse of the eyes or whatever in the other house. And then you get like the laughing and him saying, "You're so cool, Brewster." So I'm like, is it evil we're supposed to believe is over there? Or are they just doing that as an 80s thing?
I don't remember the second one. So it might have been an 80s thing. But there was a note in the trivia that said that the director, and I think this was probably more in recent times than, in the 80s or whatever, that he wanted to do a story where Charlie is now a single dad and like the mom died and he inherits the house, and then it's Evil Ed still in there trying to resurrect Jerry Dandridge to have like a long awaited kind of continuation of the story. So I don't know if that ever panned out or if they did everything, because I think what ended up happening is they're like, let's just do a remake or whatever. So I don't know if the original guy, Tom Holland, has anything to do with
the second one.
With not the second one, but with the remake or whatever.
But there is a second one from the 80s,
There is a second
right?
one in the 80s, and I do not remember if it picks up the story or what.
Never seen it. We need to watch
I know the guy that plays Charlie. I'm pretty sure he's in it. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but don't know what it is. Yeah, we should check that out, because I'm curious
Producer Kim?
what happens.
Okay, so final thoughts. Who wants to go first?
For my first time watching this movie, it wasn't bad. It was actually better than what I expected it to, especially for it being an 80s movie. And I'm going to say this, I'm kicking myself for missing some of these movies back in the 80s when I should have seen these.
What do you mean for an 80s movie, you son of a bitch?
Do you know how some 80s movies age and they're terrible? But this one was actually not, it didn't age badly. It aged pretty well. So you can actually pick it up now and watch it and not really get lost in the fact that it was so cheesy and so bad. I like this movie.
I feel like the 80ness is the 80ness.
80s-ness.
Yes, it's quintessential 80s.
No, the 80s-ness.
80s-ness?
The 80s-ness of it is what it doesn't age. Because it's like we said, like this whole sweater thing and the trench coat thing, like you make that more modern to be like, okay, you can make this movie today with just the same story.
I didn't even so much as the apparel. I was like, why do we need to have this 80s club dancing scene? Like that part was so 80s for me, is when they're dancing. I was like, why do you need to make Amy dance with you? I don't get this.
It was in the 80s. You had Flashdance.
I know, like that part of it. I was like, that's definitely like a weird 80s trope. But it's like, oh.
And she just got so much more fabulous the more she danced.
I know. It's like,
I was just like, what is going on?
All you needed was that fucking hungry eyes.
Yeah,
like,
some dirty dancing and craziness.
Like, it's dirty dancing with vampires is what it was. So,
yeah, but
fuck you, dirty dancing. You stole this from Fright Night, you sons of bitches. Like at the end of the movie, he's just holding her up in the fucking. He's doing the thing in the club.
Yeah,
and we didn't even mention that he kills the dude from Friday the 13th.
He
as
does,
one of the bouncers.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
the bouncer that he was like claws in his face.
And he calls it like his last thing is like Charlie or something. He calls
he's like,
out
why
to
does
somebody.
he call the other bouncer to come die? Like.
Oy.
I don't get paid enough for this. You fucking
Seriously.
club. Like, there are vampires up in here. I didn't get paid to fight vampires. Fuck you guys.
Yeah,
Right.
rat with everybody else.
Final thoughts, Paul.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I love this movie. It's I have nostalgia for it, but like Saul said, you can watch this now, and besides the 80ness of the 80s-ness, I can't say it. What the fuck am I trying to say? Besides the 80s aspects of it, everything is, it's still today. Like, it still transfers to today. So it is a good 80s movie. It's definitely a fun vampire movie. It's definitely a Halloween classic for me, and I love it. Watch it. And Jerry eats a lot of fruit because he's a fruit bat, by the way.
Yes, we found that out. We were going to have a whole conversation about that, but we don't need to because we looked it up in the trivia. He's a fruit bat, and that's why he ate. I wrote notes. I was like, why is this fucker eating fruit?
That's what I didn't get. Like, the fruit bat was going to have anything to do with him eating people?
I mean, it makes perfect sense, but while I was watching, I was like, why is he eating apples? He don't need nutrients. Like,
I know that's almost like you're a vampire, but you have diabetes, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, but you're a vampire, but for some reason you turn out to be a fruit bat. So you got to eat fruit.
It's a weird thing, but yeah, that was the whole fruit aspect.
It's a vampire with diabetes,
I guess. My final thoughts is this is a perfect Halloween movie. You got the fall weather scenes with the blowing leaves and Charlie hiding under a bush in the middle of the night. I don't know. But
Charlie was hiding under a bush when he could have been getting into the bush.
He could have, yes. It has vampires. It has ghouls of some sort. Late night horror movies. An amazing theme song that's named after the movie with its Fright Night.
Yes.
I mean, this is a great 80s movie. It'll give you all the Halloween feels of your youth. So watch it. It's amazing.
Why does Billy first emit green ooze and then randomly sand later?
I have no idea.
While his bones, and I love that it's like when he finally falls down with like 100 little bones and like he just like threw a bunch of
shattered.
Well, see, I was like, is that all teeth? But then his skull falls down and his skull is still
thing,
full.
I'm like, I want that skull.
I know, it was a cool skull.
Looked cool.
Yeah.
Should have gone over there and just picked it up.
But yeah, I'm like, did you guys just like eat fried chicken on set and then just throw all the chicken bones down the stairs real quick? And
like
that's
don't
the effect.
throw away your chicken bones.
We had $1 million for these effects, and we blew the budget. So we have chicken bones for this scene.
Bones.
We've got green ooze, sand, and chicken bones.
But hey, it works. It works. For some reason, it works.
That's a great, just, I don't know if you want to call it like melting, decomposing. It's like first he melts.
It's some sort of a transformation, but it's also a decomposing. It's a weird sort of meltdown.
Evil Ed's de-transformation from the wolf back to the human. At one point, it's just him covered with hair and like a wolf head, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's just there like, oh, and yeah.
I love how he's like reaching out to Peter. I was like, you just attacked Peter.
Yeah,
He ain't
he's not
gonna
gonna save
help
your
you.
ass.
Peter had a very traumatic evening because every time,
did.
like when Evil Ed dies, he's that look like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
When Billy Cole dies, like he's just stared like bright eyed, like just fucking like, holy shit. Like,
I mean, he did tell Charlie, he's like, I'm
said
not
no.
into this.
Yeah.
Like, this is not in my wheelhouse. I'm an actor. I went to Juilliard for fuck's sake. I got nothing here.
Peter had no self esteem.
No, he didn't.
No, Nobody did in this movie.
Nobody did.
Except for Charlie. Charlie has all the self-esteem just to be
Charlie-
breaking into people's houses and shit.
Charlie doesn't have self-esteem. Charlie's just a dumb
Well,
kid.
he's got some cojones, apparently. Go after a vampire.
So that was
All
Fright Night.
Jerry had to do was get Charlie laid, and he would have been like best friends. Like, all right, I don't care how many hookers you kill.
Amy was trying to get Charlie laid, couldn't get Charlie laid.
Seriously.
Man, like, what is
like
with
Jerry
that kid?
just could have been like, look, I'll bring the hookers. You do whatever
Yes.
you want, then just have them come over to here.
Yes.
Yeah, done. Get the ultimate. Send her my way.
Get the ultimate. No. If you do get the ultimate, wrap it up, kids. Wrap
Charlie
it
ain't got no guidance. He doesn't have a dad. He was killed by a vampire. This whole backstory. Right?
Yes.
That would have been a better movie. Right? Charlie's dad.
no.
Charlie thinks his dad got killed by a vampire, and that's
No.
why
He's
no
out
one
for
believes.
revenge.
That's why no one believes him about the vampire. See?
Well,
Perfect.
that's it for this week. We are coming back next week with more Halloween entertainment fun. And you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/scarynerd. You can find more horror entertainment news at scarynerd.com. If you would like stickers or want to have any comments, questions, concerns, you can email us at podcast@scarynerd.com. And we will see you next week. Anything else, guys?
I do want to say for a friend of mine who does listen to the podcast, shout out to Bree. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for showing us love. And we will catch you guys later.
Yep. And Bree, if you got any suggestions, email us. We've got a whole month of October to fill with Halloween deliciousness.
The 1966 Ford Mustang that Charlie drove was actually the director's. I just wanted to point that out because producer Kim wrote that down. You know, she's
We
back.
really missed producers Kim
We did.
notes.
Producers
Yes.
Kim's.
Producers
There's only one
Kim's?
of her.
Oh, yes, there is only
Let
one.
producer Kim at least say hello to everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, we
You're
finally
supposed
get
to
to
say
be
I'm
here.
back, bitches.
Yeah. That's how we announce our return. I'm back, bitches.
Back, bitches. All right. Well, we will see you next week. Bye.